Hey cadets, this is Mr. Storm, and today we are actually going to learn how to create 2D artwork. Now, there are tons of applications you could use to create really cool looking pixel artwork, such as like Photoshop, for example, right? You have access to Photoshop as well as a UMA high school student. So if you're familiar with Photoshop and you'd rather use that, perfectly fine. Use Photoshop. The reason why I'm going to teach you how to use this software, Piskel, is because it's very easy to use, and it won't require me to teach you how to use a very advanced program just for this very basic thing we're going to do today. So I'm at piskelapp.com, piskelapp.com, piskelapp.com. And I can see that I have sign in and create sprite. Now, you want to make sure you sign in so that you can save your sprites in a proper location. Now, luckily, we can sign in with our UMA email accounts. Excuse me, sorry. We can sign in with our UMA email accounts. We don't actually have to worry about maintaining a separate login. So I'm going to click sign in. And now it automatically signed me in because I'm already signed into my UMA email account. And now it's going to load all of the Piskels that I've created in the past, which I've created quite a few. The Millennium Falcon is actually, I'm pretty proud of that. And I have a TIE fighter up there. I've made some cool stuff. So it will save all of your Piskels that you've worked on. Now notice some of them are animated. So if I hover over it, let's see, let's go down to like this, right? Some of them are animated. We can create animations in this app, which is fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new sprite. So I'm going to click Create Sprite. And this is my workspace. All right, so a couple things really quickly. Right off the bat, I can see that this big space in the middle, this is my workspace. This is the canvas that I'm using. Now, notice that I have this gray checkered background. That means that is that background is going to be transparent. So if I draw, let's say, if I just draw something onto this, if I was to export this piece of artwork, then all I would see is just this circle. Everything else would be invisible. Okay, so that's important to know. If you fill in this entire thing, then you will have a square with all the things inside of it, right? If you just want the character themselves and you leave the gray on the outside, then whenever you import it into Unity or whatever game development platform you're going to use, for us it's Unity, then it will cut out all the stuff around the thing that you don't want. So anyway, let's get into it. So this is my canvas. Over here I have my tools. There are some great tools. First of all, pen tool, which just allows you to draw, okay, just like normal. Now I can choose a different color by coming down here and using the color selector. Over here I can slide, maybe I want a green, like a dark green. I can choose my color. Now notice it's coming in blocky. That's on purpose. This is a pixel-based art style, and we'll talk about what all that stuff means here in a minute. Let me get rid of this. What's the best way to do this? Eraser might take forever. That's fine. I could probably just delete it with one button, but whatever. We'll just get rid of it like this. Okay, so eraser obviously erases. That's what this is doing right now. Oh, you know what? I probably could have selected. Let me try something. I could have just selected and deleted. Okay, so this is a selector tool, rectangle select tool, so I can select part of it, delete it, move it, copy it, that kind of stuff. I also have a lasso select, which allows me to kind of create a weird shape to select. Let's go back up here. I have vertical mirror, which allows me to create a mirrored design. So a symmetrically mirrored design, right? So I can just kind of create, I can just draw on one side and it mirrors it on the other side. Now, if I hover over that tool, it tells me that if I hold down Control, then it will allow me to use the horizontal axis. If I hold down Shift, it does both horizontal and. So let's Control Z that. So if I hold down Shift and go here in the middle, you can see I create a mirror on both the vertical and the horizontal. So that's pretty cool. Ooh, all right. Then we have Paint Bucket tool, which is, allows me to fill in an entire thing. Or if I draw, let's go back to black. If I draw something here, I wonder why my mouse is acting up. And then I use my paint bucket, I can fill inside of that area, just like that. Cool. I also have paint all pixels of same color, which is pretty cool. So what I can do is, let's say I want to paint, let's make it red. So all these blacks, I want to make them red. I can click that and it makes all the black into red. Okay. Let's undo that because it looks really gross. We have Stroke Tool. The Stroke Tool will let you create a line. So I'm just clicking, I'm holding down my mouse button and I'm basically just creating a line. So you can just make and then let it go. Okay, so that's how you create lines. We also have Rectangle. I want to change to let's change to white. I can create a rectangle. I can create a circle. Okay. I can move my design around with the Move tool. I can use this lasso tool to kind of select the shape that I'm looking for. And then move that if I want. So whatever. Let's see. Lighten. So I can lighten up an area so I can make that a little bit lighter. That helps you with, if you want to add more kind of texture into your design, you can use the lighten tool. That's fun. Dithering will create this cool effect where every other box, every other pixel is going to be transparent. And so dithering is a technique that 2D artists use to create more depth to their design. And then we have our eyedropper tool, our color picker tool. So maybe if I really like this yellow color, but I don't know how to get back to it, I could just use the eyedropper tool. Okay, so that's those are those controls. Oh, and then up here I can change my pen size. So if I want my pen size to be 4 pixels instead of 1, then I can just come up here and have a 4 pixel pen instead of just the 1. Down here I can add a new frame. Now notice when I added my new frame, this right here started flashing. It's because it's going back and forth between the frame I created and the new frame that I created. So in order to make that stop happening, I can just lower my frames per second down to 0 so that I don't see that flashing all day. Now, let's say I didn't want to create an entirely new frame from scratch. Well, I can actually duplicate the frame that I made, okay, so that I have the same. This is going to be helpful when we're doing animation because you're going to draw your thing and then you can duplicate what you just drew and then make a couple of changes so that it animates properly. Okay. Now for today, you won't have to worry about animating or creating new frames. Today, all we're really doing is just creating our characters. Let me create a new frame and then get rid of that one. Okay, over here we have some controls. We can flip horizontally and vertically. We can rotate, we can clone, and we can align image to the center. These are all really helpful things. We can put in a color palette. So if we have a specific color palette we want to use for our game, we can create that color palette and use that for all the artwork for our game. That's a very helpful tool. Over here under preferences, we can change all kinds of stuff. So we can change the frames per second. We can change how, we can change what our background looks like. I like the darker grays. You can change your layer opacity, all that stuff. Grid, tile mode, all that, sure. Now resize. Resize is incredibly important. Now by default, Piskel will set you up with a width of 32 pixels and a height of 32 pixels. 32 by 32 is a pretty standard measurement for video games. And most video games, not today, most video games today are made with, they're 3D with crazy graphics and motion capture and all that stuff. Back in the day, in the heyday of early 2D pixel-based games, 32 by 32 was the standard measurement for everything in the game, right? Now 32 by 32 is the standard we are going to use. And so if you want something to be the standard height, it will be 32 pixels tall. Your character may be a standard 32 pixels tall. Or if you want it to be a bit taller, meaning you want it to be double the size of everything else in your level, or if you're making something that's huge, you can make it, whatever. Make sure if you increase this size, make sure you increase it by multiples of 32. So if I want my character to be twice as tall as our standard objects, instead of 32, it'll be 64. Now notice when I change the height, the width also changed. In order to prevent that from happening, we can uncheck maintain aspect ratio, and I'll set this back to 32. Now, when I click resize, I get a taller canvas to play in, okay? All right, beautiful. So resizing is important. Now, when I'm done drawing my character and I want to output, now, it's really important before you start drawing your character, please listen to me, okay? Listen. The game you are going to make is a 2D side-scrolling game. Meaning, you want to draw your character in profile. What do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look. Let's just look up Mario. And we'll look up images of Mario. So, you see this, how it's straightforward? Mario's looking right at us. That is not what we want. What we want is an image of Mario sideways. Because, look, we're creating a game where your character is running from one side of the screen to another side of the screen. If they're running, but they're looking straight forward the whole time, then they're just going to basically be sidestepping and strafing the whole... It's going to look weird. You want to draw your character looking sideways, like old school Mario games did, right? So draw your character in profile so that it looks like your character is running to the side. Okay. Now that's done. Beautiful. When you are done creating your character, now there's nothing here. I didn't really create anything. Let me just really quickly draw a character. All right, he's going to be looking that way. Let's do this. Let's actually give him some eyeballs so that I know he's looking that way. And let's give him a little bit of a nose here. Okay. And then we'll give him a body. Let's say he's got like a big old fat body like that. All right. Okay. And that's going to be my character, right? So he's facing to the right. Let's fill him in with, let's do this bucket. And then I'm going to fill him in. I'm going to use the lighten tool to kind of lighten up the area. Let's make my... Yeah, that doesn't look great. That doesn't look fantastic. Whatever. This is just quick. Okay, so this is my character. He sucks. He's not great. Hopefully yours look better, but I'm just trying to have something to output. All right, so, and I also want to fill in the eye because I don't want the eye to be, I don't want to be able to see through his head. So I'm going to fill that in with some white. Let's fill that in. Paint bucket tool. Boom. Okay, so now my character is ready to go. So when I'm ready to export my character, I want to go down here to, well, first of all, I want to save this. Notice up here it says new Piskel and it has the asterisk by it. That means I have not saved this yet, okay? So I want to save this to my gallery. So I'm going to click save and then I'm going to give it a name. And I'm going to click save and I'm going to give it a name. You can also give it a description as well. And then you're going to click save to your gallery. I'm not going to do it because this guy sucks. I don't want to save him. But you're going to save them to your gallery. Now, when you're done saving, then you can export. So if I click on export, I have some options here that I need to pay attention to. First of all, it asks me the scale. Do I want this to be regular size, or do I want it to be 1 scale, meaning it's the exact size that I want them to be, or do I want them to be double the size, or do I want them to be 32 times the size? 1 scale is fine. Now down here we have some options: GIF, PNG, zip, or others. We are going to be exporting as PNGs. Okay, make sure you export PNGs. So we're going to click PNG and we're going to click download. This is going to create a sprite sheet for us to download. It will create a single PNG file with your artwork in it. Even if you have multiple frames, it'll put all of your artwork in the same PNG file, and then we will splice it up later. So again, with your main character for today, you only really need to create 1 frame. Okay, now once I'm done with that, I can download it and then turn that into Canvas. That's pretty much it. Man, this guy is really gross looking. I'm gonna go back to my gallery so I can show you some of the artwork I've made so you can see that I'm not actually, okay, that's better. I've made some good stuff. Ooh, let's look at the Millennium Falcon. That looks pretty great. Look at that, and it's got an animation on it. Ooh, let's get in there. So yeah, this is just a 4-frame animation, and it just slightly changes the exhaust out on this. So anyway, cool. So once you're done with your artwork, export it as a PNG, put it into your character sheet, and then we can move on. All right. Now, speaking of character sheet, once you're done, playing around with the artwork, go into the character sheet assignment, watch the video there, and we will talk about how to turn in your character sheet and some things I'm looking for. All right, I'll see you then. Peace out.